Alright, this is Training for Golf Success. My name is Brian Ayers. A little background on me. Started here probably about 6 years ago. Educated at UConn in the exercise science department. Sports nutrition minor. Fun certifications and everything since. But the important part is I did take up golf. I am not very good at it at all. So I'll be the first one. You guys could probably all show me a thing or two about technique and actual gameplay. But one thing I did do a lot of research on is training for golf. So your coaches and your people at the golf expert shops are going to be teaching you the fundamentals of the actual golf swing. I can't help you with that. But training and getting the core, getting the body ready to play golf is something we definitely work on here. All right, so there's a lot of things that we're going to start out with here. We're going to go over mostly why golfers should do conditioning. What's the benefits of conditioning? We're going to talk about some of the core muscles. Then we're going to go into the different periodization schedule of a season. All right, so you got the in-season, the off-season, pre-season, all that fun stuff. All right, and basically once we get into that, we're going to talk about a little bit about the form and function of the golf swing and how you can train to improve that. Again, golf is one of those sports which I'm sure, how many people here are golfers? Oh, everybody, amazing. All right. So, you guys know better than anybody else that golf is all about practice. If you want to get good at golfing, you have to practice golfing. However, you can improve your physical attributes in regards to golf, and that can help you get better through practice. So, we'll start out today with why golfers should worry about conditioning. All right. First of all, golf is a sport that it involves repeatedly generating, decelerating a large amount of force. Okay, so obviously when you're going through, and I know this is a putter, I do know that much about golf. However, I didn't bring my gloves with me today, so we're gonna pretend this is a regular glove. As you're coming back, you're building up that potential energy, right, in the coil back, and then again, don't critique my form because it's horrible. Then obviously as you come through, you're decelerating as much force as you generate. You have to decelerate it coming through here. Okay? So we're also going to talk a little today about injuries, because a lot of the injuries that can happen in golf, and in any sport really, 90% of the injuries come in the deceleration phase of things. Okay? So it's not generating the force, it's what does your body do with that force once it's been generated, and how does it slow it down, how does it absorb that force at the end of the range of motion that usually dictates whether or not you're getting an injury. Alright, so let's talk about the trunk. Let's talk about club head speed. Men's club head speeds frequently reach 160 miles an hour, and women's 100 miles an hour. So if you think about that amount of force that you're generating coming through the end of that swing, you can see how people can really damage themselves if their body's not decelerating that force properly. Plus, you think about it, even if you're shooting a 90, which is pretty good, about 35 to 40 of those shots are going to be those higher generating force shots. And obviously, I don't think anyone's ever gotten hurt, getting to the green and doing this if you're not generating a lot of force. But it's those big swings, it's those full swings, even some of the chips. I mean, if you're in an odd position for a chip and your body's off balance, you could definitely, if you're not trained to have that core balance, you could definitely throw yourself out of whack. So muscles of the trunk. And this is where I would have loved to have the projector because I got nice pictures that I downloaded, but you guys can kind of see them in there, the little tiny ones. These are basically all your muscles of the trunk. The big one is transverse abdominis. Inside, deep within the core, you have a muscle that goes all the way around the center. It's kind of like a corset. Everyone knows what the old corsets are where you tie them up front. There's a muscle that's shaped pretty much like that. When you activate that muscle, you draw it in, right? That pulls everything in towards the center, just like a corset. Okay? What that does is that helps stabilize the spine, stabilize the trunk through a range of motion. Okay? So that is a hugely important muscle, one that most people, especially if you have a desk job, that muscle is very detrained. Okay, because you're sitting most of the time, and when you're sitting, there's not a lot of postural support or not a lot of postural activity, so that muscle just kind of gets blah, right? Then, guess what happens? When that muscle's blah, it's not drawing in, it's not stabilizing the trunk and the spine properly, and you drive through with 100 miles an hour worth of force, and that stuff's not there to hold it in place, There's where we run into back injuries, strains, sprains, etc. Quadratus lumborum, which is commonly called your QL, runs right from the back here. You can see that picture is from behind. It's the back of the hip crest going up into the lower ribs and into the spine itself. That muscle is primarily used for external rotation and back extension. So it's back extension with external rotation. So that's a big one. Obviously, you guys can see in golf. Guess what? That's a lot of your force right there is coming from that QL. A lot of tightness, a lot of people having sore backs in regards to golf comes from the QL. You got your rectus abdominis. Everyone knows that one. That's the big muscle in the front here. Oh, we got some more over here. No problem. That one's, it's obviously a abdominal muscle, but it's probably one of the least used in the golf swing in any rotational work. That's your primary, your trunk flexor. So a lot of times when people say they're working the core to get better at golf, they sit down and do a bunch of crunches. So that's really mostly only working the rectus abdominis, which is the least used out of all these muscles in the golf swing. So working your core doesn't just mean doing crunches and ab workouts. Serratus anterior is a little less used. It's actually under the ribs here. Part of it's going to be in deceleration coming through your swing. You're going to use that a little in the decelerative phase. But the external and internal obliques are definitely your big trunk rotators as well. Okay, so those muscles are really working through the rotational, not only the generating of the force, but also decelerating. Your body is twisting in this direction. Those muscles that attach going this way and this way have to catch the back so it doesn't just keep going, right? So we really need to train those in a rotational sense for the golf swing. A lot of what we're going to talk about movement-wise is rotation, because that's what it's all about. It's trunk and it's hips, and it's all rotational strength. So, going on, why should golfers worry about conditioning, preventing injuries? We just talked about that. The most common areas of injuries associated with golf are the low back, the elbows, and the shoulders. Elbows, we're going to have to talk about a little bit too. There's different kind of exercises to do for elbows, and we'll get into that a little bit more towards the end. But we're talking primarily about the trunk and the hips. Shoulders, the same thing. Shoulders, less because you're really not using your shoulders. If you're doing a good golf swing, it's all coming from the trunk, and the arms are just kind of like a whip. Right? You obviously don't want them limp, but if you're tense, you know your golf swing's not right. For all those people that have the golf experts that tell them. So we want to work the shoulders, but shoulder strength isn't as important as shoulder deceleration. So generating the force is not coming from the shoulders, but decelerating is going to be to some degree. All right, so training will increase your performance. People spend thousands of dollars on equipment to improve their game, and then they neglect those couple of hours a week to improve their actual body, which is going to improve their game. So your clubs, no matter how good they are only as good as the body that's using them. So really take the time and the effort to train your body, and then that'll go leaps and bounds towards helping improve your game. Golf-specific training can improve your stability and swing path, making your swing more fluid. Create a greater range of motion, increasing your club head speed and distance. You guys sure watch golf. You ever see Tiger Woods and some of those golfers, how much they get around when they're in their full twist? That's all range of motion. The more range of motion you can get into, the more distance you have to increase your club speed, right? So if you can get your club head speed going faster, that's going to result in distance, as long as you can control it. Because obviously, you know, like when I get out there and I'm swinging, the ball's going this way, the ball's going that way, that's technique, that's control. But power is there. If you have the power and the control, then you're the Tiger Woods.